All right, out of the 49ers locker room where Jake Moody talked about his 59-yard game-winning field goal here at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And Kyle Shanahan gave a couple positive injury updates for the 49ers. The big one, Dominick Puni, it is not an ACL. They're saying that it might be a PCL and he might be out a few weeks, but obviously the 49ers have avoided the worst with Dominick Puni, which was very, very important. The other one was Corey Kiner, the rookie running back. That is a high ankle sprain, so that's going to keep him out for a little bit. Kyle Shanahan was talking about all the injuries in the 49ers running back room because Patrick Taylor Jr. also exited today, but he pointed out that there is not a season ender there for the 49ers, at least yet. You knock on wood. You hope there won't be a season ender, but he expects all those running backs soon, except for Kiner, obviously, who just suffered the high ankle sprain. He expects a healthy room for week one, which is what is most important in the preseason. The other look that we have to have is the defensive line, where the only truly long-term injury for the 49ers is Kevin Givens with the pectoral injury. And that means that he's probably going to be out till around midseason. But today the 49ers were playing with a lot of replacements along that defensive line. Same thing as practice the other day against the Raiders. They did struggle in practice to stop the run. I thought especially early on when we saw some more first-team offense action today, the 49ers did struggle to stop the run as well. But it's not going to be the same unit that San Francisco sees in the regular season. Jake Moody was asked to give a speech to the team. I don't know how long it was. If he did talk, it was just very short. As Kyle Shanahan said, there's not much to say. But everybody mobbed Jake Moody after. I talked to Thomas Morstead, who's the 49ers punter. Remember, they've got a whole new operation. And that means new snapper. That's John Weeks, new holder, and Thomas Morstead. And then Jake Moody is having to work with those two guys instead of Tabor Pepper and Mitch Wishnowsky last year. And, I just asked Morstead about the operation. He says, you never fully get it right. These guys are perfectionists, but obviously they've gotten it to a point where Moody was able to go 4 or 5 today and knock through both a 59-yarder and a 50-yarder. So, and then the 44-yarder to tie it late in the game was a clutch kick as well. Morstead, this is a veteran that's been around the league for a while. So is John Weeks. I think those are two good guiding voices for a younger kicker like Jake Moody. And it was cool to hear Morstead answer some questions about the exact specifics of what the 49ers are trying to accomplish in that kicking room, with today obviously being a very, very big day forward with progress made in pressure. It's what the 49ers needed to see from Jake Moody, what they couldn't see in practice. Today they saw it with a lot of intensity in a game. I mean, you can't really ask for more out of a preseason game as far as a test for a kicker. Today the 49ers got it with both the game tying and then the crazy game-winning field goal. I asked Jake Moody, did he move back to 3 strides for that kick? Because remember, he's moved to 2 strides to increase his accuracy over the course of this offseason. And he said no. He said he did 2 strides and he felt that his range was about 62 or 63 yards with the 3 strides. And we saw him boot that 59-yarder through with plenty to spare. So new kicking technique working well for Moody. Speaking of technique, speaking of comfort, Nick Martin, 49ers rookie linebacker, he wore slippers with a couple dogs on them. So he had that dog in him today. I thought he was way, way better than last week. And after this video, you're going to hear from a bunch of 49ers players in the locker room. That's going to include Nick Martin, who was flying around today. I still saw him take a couple bad angles, but I also saw him trust it by Robert Saleh on a blitz call. I saw him, in general, look like the game had slowed down for him. And I asked him about that in the locker room. And he said, yeah, it did feel that things were starting to move at a manageable speed. So it makes sense. Week 1 to week 2, first time that you're thrown into that water, it can be jarring. That's what happened for Nick Martin last week. And now he started to develop some comfort. Is he going to start this season? At the start of the season, absolutely not. Maybe by the end of the season, he emerges as the 49ers' 3rd linebacker. But all San Francisco needs to see from this guy is progress, and they definitely saw some today. Quietly, Chase Lucas has been the 49ers' best defensive player, and I guess not all too quietly through 2 games. But, this is a guy who was on the scout team last year, who didn't have a whole lot of fanfare because he was doing all the work behind the scenes. Today he had the big interception where he was talking about what Daniel Bullocks, who's the 49ers DB coach, and Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator, he said that they had him really, really prepared. They had different route combinations charted out for the Raiders. You're going to hear from Chase Lucas as well, so stay tuned for that in this video. But they had a bunch of different route combinations and formations charted out, and they said, you know, if the Raiders do this, they line up this way, and the receiver stutter steps out of his break, this is what the route's going to be. They had the DBs very prepared for this game, and that's why Chase Lucas essentially ran the route for the intended target on his interception. So that's just a great example of really good coaching, and we know that the 49ers have it on the defensive side of the ball. Really good coaching putting the 49ers in position to maximize what they have on the defensive side of the ball, and this in particular for the DBs. Now, Chase Lucas also said that he was sick of just sitting on the bench all year last year. Chase wanted to contribute this season, and he is, you know, you could say knocking on the door of a roster spot, but he's close to just kicking the door down and telling the 49ers, you better put me on this 53-man roster, because opportune plays are opportune plays, regardless of whom they come against. If it's the 1s, 2s, or 3s, you're still making plays on a football field. Not everybody who played on this field today can say that. So, especially with all the injuries the 49ers have, I know that defensive back is a spot where there are fewer than defensive line, but they still have some guys out at that defensive back position. Renardo Green should be back next week for the 49ers, but it's never a static thing. It's always a fluid thing. When you look at the potential movement there, you understand that the 49ers could really use a versatile guy like Chase Lucas, who could play a lot of good special teams. He was a gunner for the Detroit Lions a couple years ago before he came to the 49ers last year. He could be a very potentially valuable piece for San Francisco. So he talked in that locker room about the victory lap. Kyle Shanahan joked that he ran from side to side a full 100 yards after his interception. I think he might have even seen Trent Williams on the sideline. I saw Trent in the locker room, got to talk with him for a little bit. He's feeling great. He's excited for another season. Trent obviously didn't play today. We saw A-list appearances from Brock Purdy, from George Kittle, from Deommodore Lenoir, but guys like Bosa, guys like Trent Williams, we saw them during warm-ups, and they're obviously, Bosa might still have a bit of a sore neck, but they look close to healthy. The 49ers weren't going to throw out all the first-teamers today. They wanted to see Brock Purdy knock off any rust that he might have. Didn't look like he had any. They wanted to watch Mac Jones, who I think is maybe the best QB2 the 49ers have had since Kyle Shanahan has been aboard. I mean, Mac threw some nice layered passes today. The interception, Kyle talked about it to Jeremy Chinn. I mean, Chinn was kind of playing that safety/linebacker hybrid on the play, and Mac thought that he could look him off and still complete the pass outside the numbers downfield. Chinn made a hell of a play. I mean, he obviously wasn't looked off enough, and then he still covered a lot of range to make that catch. I mean, it's a great example of this league is now seeing so many safeties playing linebacker-esque roles, and I think the quarterbacks really have to get used to the range that those guys are going to show coming off the edge. And in that particular instance, Mac Jones didn't think that Jeremy Chinn was going to be able to make that play. He thought that the amount that he had looked him off would be enough, and it obviously wasn't for the 49ers. As Kyle said today, Mac Jones got a little bit greedy on that interception, but otherwise, 13 of 16, he was really good. And, you know, tip your cap to Carter Bradley. He was atrocious last week, looked a lot better this week. He just got absolutely drilled when he hit Robbie Chosen on a deep corner route. That helped the 49ers get into position to tie the game. And then a little bit later, it could have been a go-ahead touchdown pass. I thought he put it right where it needed to be, but Robbie Chosen just wasn't able to hold on to the football. Speaking of that receiver position, Ricky Pearsall. I mean, early in this game, all those catches, you could see the rapport that Purdy and Pearsall have. And this is really fascinating to me because Kyle Shanahan shared some insight on Pearsall. He says that sometimes he's been so worried about winning against the particular defensive back who's been guarding him that he's really neglected the timing that he needs to have with Brock Purdy. I don't know if you saw the 49ers show that they have up on their YouTube channel. They got Ricky mic'd up, and he was promising Brock Purdy that he was going to be on time, that he's going to work on his timing with Brock. And, it's more of a team mentality, right? If you're just worried about beating the guy across from you one-on-one, you might get open, but it might not be worth anything in the larger structure of the play. And I think especially when they passed on 3rd and 18 and Brock had to get the ball out quickly with Max Crosby coming around the edge early in this game, Ricky had to be on time to his spot. And the fact that that connection seems to be blossoming through every practice, seems to be blossoming out on the field today in the preseason in real game action is really, really nice news for the 49ers. A lot of guys, of course, were out. We saw before the game, one of the guys who's out, Brandon Ayuk, catching passes from Brock Purdy. I thought that was significant. Purdy threw him 3 passes. I don't think that Ayuk is allowed to practice, but there might be a loophole for him to go out here and can catch passes from his QB during the pregame. I don't think he's going to be ready for week 1, but Kyle Shanahan kind of hinted maybe week 6 is when Brandon Ayuk returns, and it's only a good thing that he was out there running some routes. Even if it wasn't fully at the speed that we have come to know from Brandon Ayuk, I think it was still good that he's out there. And, last year he just wasn't a participant in anything at this time. And now, obviously, he's hurt, so it's a whole different situation for Brandon Ayuk. But you could tell that he's chomping at the bit. He wants to be part of things. I think the attitude, it shines. It looks like something that the 49ers want to work with. And I know that there's stuff to repair after last year. It was a brutal stretch before that contract, but as far as taking the strides toward making amends, I think that Brandon Ayuk is doing his absolute best. We saw him before this game working alongside some of the other 49ers who didn't play. Ayuk obviously still a little further off for San Francisco. It's the preseason, guys. Can't read too much into it, but sometimes the preseason could give a team good opportunity to simulate what they need to see ahead of the regular season. And I think that was definitely the case for Jake Moody today. That's why it was so cool to talk to him in the locker room. Here's Jake Moody, followed by, you could stay tuned for Chase Lucas and Nick Martin. They both talked in that 49ers locker room. Team now flying back to the Bay Area. They're going to have a day off. 49ers will practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday before another day off or a walkthrough day. Then they'll see the Chargers. Do we get to see Brock Purdy against Trey Lance on Saturday at Levi Stadium? Maybe. Not promising anything, but it's going to be fun as the preseason wraps up in 1 week.
What are the emotions after that?
Obviously, it feels really good. Glad I got a couple chances after the miss earlier to bounce back, get on track, get a couple different situations to throw myself in, and I'm glad I got all those chances. So really appreciate the offense getting me in position, and that pick at the end, that was awesome.
I didn't have a chance to watch the replay, but did you move to 3 strides for the longer kick, or did you still go with the 2 at the end?
No, that was still the 2 strides. I think my range today would have been maybe 63, give or take. So anything past that, if we're trying to attempt like a 70-yarder or something, I'd probably, give it an extra step. But that was still just the same, but like 2-step approach.
Did you know when you hit it, you had enough and it was going to be?
Yeah, it was a great operation, great snap, great hold. Got to see the ball for a long time. And usually when you get to see the ball for a while, that's a good thing. And, I hit it really well. The guy rushing the edge tripped me, so I fell on my back. I didn't even get to see it, but it was pretty cool to have everybody pick me up off the ground, and yeah, it was fun.
What did you speak to the team after the game? What did you say?
Well, he asked if I wanted to say anything, and I was like, nah, you got it. I'm not a big speech guy.
Did the 26-yarder, the one that was a little shaky, did that kind of give you a little, like, okay, now I need to work on this or change it a certain way to make the next 2?
Not necessarily. It's just didn't hit it great. All you can do from there is just move on to the next one and make sure you hit the next one well. So, yeah.
How do you, you've done this throughout your kicking life, but your 53 wasn't, particularly close. Then you sneak into 26 and, everyone's going like, oh, he's lost. He doesn't know what he's doing, How do you deal with that and, steady yourself and not panic?
Yeah. Been talking with like a sports performance coach. He's really harping on process over outcome. there's nothing I can do to go back and change the past. The only thing I can do is, focus on the next kick and just, focus on the process. That's, as simple as running out on the field, doing a little practice kick, just focusing on my steps, making sure those are good, and just not thinking about, anything that's previously happened, anything that might happen in the future. Just, go back to the thousands of practice reps that I've done and just focus on that process.
Does anybody talk to you on the sideline on a day like this, or do they just leave you alone? Or by your kicking
Yeah.
place of the island?
I was just by the net. I don't think anybody really bothered me. I couldn't really tell. I was just kind of focused on what I had to do. And I'd say everybody behaved pretty well and nobody was getting in the way.
How's the whole operation from, I know it's new this year, so from Weeks to Morstead, is there anything in particular they're bringing a benefit to the table for you?
Yeah, I mean, they've been great. Having two vets like them, it's they've been doing it a long time for a reason, and having them to bring me back, after the miss, and just hey, it happens, get the next one. They've seen it all throughout their careers, so having two guys like that bring that experience, it's really helpful.
And nice is it to have the support of the entire team that you felt at the end.
Yeah, it was awesome. That's the kind of stuff you dream of, making long game-winning kicks and getting picked up off the ground and celebrating with your teammates. So that was a pretty cool feeling.
A lot of guys are like, this is just preseason, it doesn't matter. But I mean, you're kicking, like all kickers, right? I mean, you're a few kicks away possibly from your job. I mean, is the pressure similar, the same as a regular season game?
Yeah, I mean, I treat it as if it's, just another game. Like you said, it's, every kick's the same for me. It doesn't really matter, one offense, two defense, none of that stuff. It's, field goal's a field goal. So it's good to treat it like a game and get those, mental reps in, get the different situations that you get put in just to, kind of learn from it and, take you into the season feeling really good.
You have that, I mean, I guess going back to the East-West Shrine game, I mean, a lot of highs and lows there. I mean, will you always remember this place,
Yeah.
for better or worse?
Yeah, I mean, lots of stuff's happened here. Like you said, East-West Shrine Bowl, a couple preseason games, Super Bowl, lots of memories here, good and bad. So, yeah, always like playing here, always like beating the Raiders when we can. So, yeah, it was pretty fun today.
Yeah.
Jake, when you say sports performance coach, is that a mental thing?
It's not as much like a sports psychologist. It's more of just like the program I'm doing is called like how to handle pressure and stuff like that. Just going through different techniques, just to kind of handle different situations and make sure that you're prepped mentally and physically as well. No matter what the situation is. So yeah, it's not necessarily like a sports psychologist, but more of like a sports performance coach, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
The team, I mean, and use I can.
Take me through the interception. Like you were kind of the receiver in that play. I mean,
Oh no, I was the receiver. I think they just threw the ball to me. But no, man, I got to give it to Coach Solid and Coach Daniel Bullocks, man. They give me some great indicators. They give me great indicator tape. There's 135 clips, mind you, of indicator tape that we had before the game, the day before, and I watched it probably 10 times, and I knew, 2 by 2, for playing man, they're either gonna go slants or they're gonna go out route to the 2, and I said, okay, if he gonna stutter at the line, he's doing a slant. If he's just gonna keep it pushing, he's gonna do it out. So I read it perfectly. I just broke underneath him, and then. I think, what was the quarterback's name? I can't remember. O'Connell, he threw me a perfect pass right to my hand. So, I got to thank him for that, for sure.
Yeah, last week you were happy that Robert trusted you with those blitz calls, and then you had a big sack there at the end.
Yes, sir.
Is that another example of Robert going back to the well, something at clutch time?
What's crazy, man? We didn't run a lot of calls that I thought we were going to run. I think Coach Solid just said, we're going to stick to the basics. And I didn't get that cue this time. I didn't get the, hey, man, we're going to be blitzing you, man. Just be prepared. We went in there 2 minutes. He's like, hey, man, I'm going to blitz you. Go get a sack. And I said, okay, we're going to make it do what it do. So they were keying me the whole time. They kept sliding the line to me. I kept acting like I was blitzing. So they kept sliding the line to me, and it was giving us, our defensive line, some penetration, and then I think they forgot about me, and then I ended up getting into it. So.
Chase, Shanahan said he thought you went to both end zones to celebrate your interception.
Yeah.
Do you recall what path you took?
Oh, I remember, like it was today. The first thing I did, man, I told Trent, man, as soon as I catch the ball, I'm gonna be looking for you. I could not find the big silverback anywhere, so I just took off down the sideline. I was just like, man, I want everybody to see that I was telling them this is gonna be my field tonight. And when I ran down that field, I made sure they seen it and heard it.
And when did you tell him that?
Huh?
When did you tell him that?
When I looked in the guy's face, I said, "This is mine. This is my place, man." And I was just thankful, man. I gave the ball to Trent. He's a big homie to me. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's a great dude, bro. So I be with him all the time that I can. I get as much knowledge as I can from him. And when I make a play, I want to kind of share that love with him.
Is he a guy that you kind of leaned on last year when you were here?
Oh yeah, him and Demo for sure, man. There'd be days, man, I didn't want to get up because I was on. I feel like I wasn't getting the recognition that I need or I wanted. But that's just a soft mentality, man. I kind of had to flip the script, and I feel like this year is a different story.
Is there anything that triggered this change?
I was tired of being on the sideline, man. I was tired of being on, being in stuff like this when the homies is out there at war. So I told myself, man, whatever it needs to happen, whatever I need to do. I trained my body crazy on the off season. And I made sure that I was gonna, people were gonna know my name this year.
All right so far?
It could be better. It could be better. I think I dropped a pick last week, so I got one this week, and I got a sack. So I feel like we're pushing in the right direction. But like Coach Solid said, man, I'm trying to get better every day, no matter what it is. So as long as I keep getting better, man, the plays are gonna keep coming. Yep.
He's definitely got a great reputation, and hopefully we can just keep on building on that and keep making him proud. So.
As a teacher, though, is he patient?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. He's a calm guy, but he has that intensity about him, and he's definitely somebody that you're not afraid to ask questions. So,
So, sorry if this has already been asked. Did this week feel like, what was the difference in speed for you, second game versus first game? Did things start to slow down a little bit?
yeah, I'd say so. I'd say I just felt a little more comfortable. That's the goal, just to keep getting more comfortable and keep getting my feet in the ground and just making the plays that come to me, and making the most of it. But yeah, I definitely say I feel more comfortable and a little more clear-headed too. So.
It's also nice to have a little bit of film to watch and NFL game film.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. When you're preparing for people in this preseason games, it's tough to get it in because y'all working and you almost kind of scrambling sometimes. But now we got 2 games to watch, and I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to get going. So.
How much fun do you have rushing the quarterback on the sack and some
Real fun. I love rushing. So I did a lot of it in college. So I'm just glad that it's able to translate. That I'm just when I hear my number called, I got to make the most of it. So.
What'd you see in that play? Just kind of yourself open and hit, or what was it?
Yeah, so I stemmed up a little bit to try to get them to slide the protection to the left, and so in the center didn't see me coming. They saw me late, and I was able to get a rip on them. So I got through.
So you say you're learning from Fred how to be a dog, and I'm going to get my cameraman to tilt down as I ask you to explain those dogs on your feet.
Yeah, man, they're comfortable. I mean, I love expressing myself. I love slippers. I love animals. Why not wear them? So, you could take some subliminal messages with it. I think it's it's fashion. So, yeah.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, man.